KTTH and all of Bonneville, Seattle are working to support impacted communities by raising funds for our Maui Strong fundraiser. Will you join us? Donate directly at ktth.com or text Maui to 1-800-465-8770. The New Civil Liberties Alliance filed a lawsuit on Friday of last week against the Biden administration for its new student debt relief plan, one that seems to fly in the face of what we thought the Supreme Court said. Joining me on the line is Litigation Counsel Sheng. Welcome to the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And happy to talk about this.
Are they just trying to do a clever runaround of a previous Supreme Court order, or is this completely separate and the arguments against it completely separate?
We think the arguments against it are pretty similar. It actually predates the Supreme Court, the program. So what happened was Congress has, for a long time, enacted these debt forgiveness statutes that are completely lawful. And what they say is that if you're a borrower and you make a certain number of monthly payments into your repayment plan, you can get the whole balance forgiven. And that's completely lawful, and it's about 20 years worth of monthly payments you have to make. But what the department has changed is they made an adjustment, a quote-unquote adjustment to this program, and whereby they're going to start counting periods of non-payment as payments, which just flies in the face of common sense and what the statute provides.
I mean, very clearly, and it's also not fair to the folks who spend time paying back their student loan debt over the amount of times that they're supposed to do it, and then they would have been, had they just not paid, they would have been rewarded, basically.
Exactly. And how this works is there's something called forbearance, where you can ask the secretary or you can ask your loan servicer, say, hey, I'm having a hard time paying off my loans for whatever reason. Could you give me a break for a year, 2 or 3? And then they give you that break. But the deal is if you get that forbearance, that doesn't count towards your 20-year requirement. Mm-hmm. What the department is saying now it suddenly counts. So not only did you get a break by not having to pay your loans for 2-3 years, but now suddenly that 2 or 3 years counts towards your repayment for the purpose of getting forgiveness, which is I don't even know how to think about this, because in at least the Supreme Court case, what's different is in the Supreme Court case that was just issued, there was at least a colorable statutory argument. They found a statute that's many years old that where it says the Secretary of Education can waive or modify student loans. Then the question is, what does waive or modify mean? But, maybe if you squint hard enough, that waive or modify that you cancel loans. The Supreme Court disagreed. Here, there's not even that. They're not looking at any kind of vague or broad language. They're just saying, well, the statute says qualified monthly payments, and we think non-payments mean payment. And that's I just don't know how you get there.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. And the basic argument that you're making, legally speaking, is that the Congress should be in charge of making a decision like this.
Exactly. And well, you know what? Here, Congress already did make a decision. Congress said, if you give us 20 years of monthly payments, we'll give you forgiveness. Or it's 10 years of monthly payments if you're also working for a public service company, like a nonprofit or a government entity. So if that's the deal, you make this number of payments and we forgive you. And the department is now changing that deal that Congress enacted. And of course, we know only Congress can change laws that Congress writes. The Department of Education can't do that.
Is this an issue? Will this be an issue of standing? You're suing on behalf of the Cato Institute and I think it's the Mackinac Center for Public Policy.
That's right. I mean, in all these cases, the department, I think, is trying to get away with completely unlawful actions by trying to squirrel away and avoiding judicial review on standing theories. Here, I think we have a very good standing theory because one of the things Congress said is if you make monthly payments while working for a nonprofit company like Cato or like the Mackinac Center, you get your loans forgiven. Now, if that's a 10-year requirement, and that creates a 10-year incentive for borrowers to work for Cato. Now, if suddenly non-payments count as payments towards that 10-year requirement, if you're hypothetically you take 3 years of forbearance and you credit it towards someone who otherwise wouldn't, that person would instead of getting forgiveness today, that person would actually have a 3-year requirement of making payments while working for Cato. So Cato is now losing that incentive for that type of borrower to work for Cato, and same with Mackinac and all those. And that's an economic injury that satisfies any standing test that we see.
Any concern that you're basically walking into a political trap that the Democrats are setting here? They obviously know that it's a bad look for anyone to get in the way of giving people free money, right? I mean, it's just the people who are the borrowers are probably going to be upset. They have been promised something that they should never have been promised, but it was all done for political reasons. And it feels like the administration knows that once this goes to a judge and maybe ultimately to the Supreme Court, they're going to lose.
Yeah, I think there's that, but it's not really free money, though. You and I are on the hook for this.
Yeah, well, they view it as free money.
Really
yeah,
free.
This is 100% not free. And again, I'm in the camp of being resentful of anyone who isn't working to pay back their student loans. I understand that during COVID, there were lots of folks who were forced not to go to work by the government. I totally understand that, and they should obviously not suffer any interest fees as a result of not being able to pay because we put them out of work. But that wasn't happening, right? We've already given them that kind of break. But you do have to get back to paying, and that's the part that just drives me nuts. You voluntarily took on this debt. Some people did it with the best of intentions, and they fell on hard times, and there are safety nets available. But this goes way too far.
Yeah, and a lot of people who are taking out loans for other reasons. If you take out a small business loan, if you take out a home loan, if you take out a car loan, you don't get forgiven for that. Why not? Because we think those are private decisions that you made, and you have to take responsibility for them. And the same thing I think is true for student loans. Now, I will say, a lot of these student loans were taken by 18-year-olds who are told by their school counselor and told by their university and told, frankly, by their government to go follow your dreams. Who cares about the price? Yep. And they may have made some unwise decisions. But the solution to that isn't just to forgive the loans. The solution to that is to hold the universities accountable so they're not issuing these, phony baloney degrees that aren't worth anything. And that solution has to be done in Congress. And I think there's room for compromise here where people on the left want some loan forgiveness and people on the right want to hold universities accountable. And there's potential compromise solution, but you can't get there if the Department of Education unilaterally just gives the left whatever they want, because then the left has no reason to bargain with the right anymore, and you can't actually get a congressional solution to the student loan problem.
And by the way, parents, this is a conversation for you to have with your kids. If you know they're going to go into gender studies, probably not worth a $90,000 student loan. They don't need to go to Gonzaga for that. We've been talking with the NCLA Litigation Counsel Sheng. Their website is nclalegal.org. It's the New Civil Liberties Alliance. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. Take care.
You as well. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. Back with the Big Local after this.
Do you live, work, or play in downtown Baltimore? The Charm City Circulator goes everywhere you want to go downtown. And best of all, it's free. So let us take you there. Visit CharmCityCirc.com. That's CharmCityCirc.com.